Welcome everyone. This is the 11th day of February 2019. Glad everyone is here tonight. First on the agenda is a public hearing. This is a public hearing on a request for the city to declare an area of 2,500 square feet inside the West Monroe Street right-of-way adjacent to 214 West Monroe Street property as surplus real property for sale. So first, let me ask City Attorney Steve Worsham or his designee, Mr. Giffen, to approach the podium and give us just an overview as to what brings us here to this point. Mr. Giffen?
Your Honor, since this matter is in litigation and Mr. Giffen has been representing the city in that particular matter, we've asked him to.
Good. And then once Mr. Giffen makes his presentation, I'll open the floor for anyone that would like to make any other comments. Mr. Giffen.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Alderman. The basis for this litigation and the issue that brings us here tonight on this is, as the Mayor said, pertains to a portion of a right-of-way along West Monroe Street on the south side here in town. It's been several years ago, there was a piece of property owned by the defendant in this case, Jewel Noon, who several years ago moved a mobile home onto this property. It's been there for several years, and this mobile home sits on a portion of what is the right-of-way owned by the city of Tullahoma. This is a right-of-way that we've had since the town plan was laid out back in 1906. We have 100-foot right-of-ways on all the streets there, and this mobile home, as it turns out, has been for several years sitting on a portion of the city right-of-way for West Monroe Street. A lawsuit was filed back in 2013, I believe, in this matter. I think that's the correct year on this. We were not the city attorneys at that time. We had a hearing on this matter back on April the 13th, 2018. At that time, Judge Johnson ruled that the city was entitled to a judgment to have this mobile home moved from the city right away. However, that judgment was stayed for a period of 120 days to give Mr. Noon the opportunity to make application to the Planning Commission to determine whether or not this property ought to be surplused. There have been other portions of the right-of-way on both sides of West Monroe Street that have been surplused by the city in the past. There was some delay in that regard. Mr. Noon, through his attorney, filed a motion seeking to extend that 120-day hearing or period of time. We went to court over that. Judge Johnson granted an additional 60 days to Mr. Noon to make that application, but that was the final extension in that regard. Mr. Noon did timely make that application, and the Planning Commission addressed that. It's my understanding that they have denied that request, and now, as part of our process, it's before the board here tonight.
Very good. Any questions for Mr. Giffen? All right. Mr. Ewell? Or,
yeah. Gerald Ewell, I represent Dr. Noon in this. Our position would be that the refusal was purely arbitrary, that because the whole entire rest of the block has been surplused by the city. Both sides of the street, on everybody's property. There's just one property owner, but the whole entire block on both sides was surplused other than Dr. Noon's property, which that amount was surplused and conveyed to the adjoining property owner, I believe, in November 2016. I have a copy of that deed I'd like to enter. It's got a graphic representation, although the Xerox copy is not too well. But Exhibit A to that deed, which was prepared by Mr. Worsham, and if the board would like, he may have a better copy if that makes it. But it's got the part that the city surplused then, which represents, there's a total of 823 feet, and by the measurement in that deed, the city surplus 723 feet of that. So the city has surplused all but 12.5% of the entire block, and we would just ask that the city treat Dr. Noon just like they treated the other property owner in the block. I have the deed that has that graphic representation, I'd like to make a part of the record, as well as a copy of the deed to Dr. Noon's sister from the city of Tullahoma, ironically, owned it and conveyed it to his sister in '86, and then there was a subsequent conveyance to him. I also have a series of photographs that show the area that we're asking be surplused, as well as the area on the other side of the street, and there's no appreciable difference. I would just, I don't know if I enter those with your or.
That's fine.
Since this board made the decision to surplus that, we would just ask to be treated the same. That's all.
I've been referring to Mr. Noon as Mr. Is it Dr. Noon?
He is a doctor in Bible studies or
Okay,
something, so
good. I didn't realize that. Thank you.
he'll still answer to Mr. Noon.
Yes. All right. So, anyone else in the audience wish to address on this particular issue in the public hearing? All right, seeing none, we will close the public hearing, and we will go into the regular meeting of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. First is the roll call. Ms. Golden.
Yes, Mayor Curley,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem King. Here. Alderperson Blanks.
Here.
Duncan.
Here.
Dunn. Noes.
Here.
Mathis.
Here.
6 present.
All right, we have a quorum, so we'll proceed. First, we're very pleased Reverend Tim McGee is here. Ask him to step to the podium and offer our invocation and pledge of allegiance. Ask everyone to please stand, please.
Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the blessing of life. We thank you for the blessing of this day, and we thank you for all the good gifts that come all around us, that come our way. They come all by your hand. May we never forget that. May we always acknowledge that and be ever so grateful for those gifts.
Yes.
We ask you, Lord, to give wisdom to these, our city officials, as they conduct business. We know that the scriptures say that if we lack wisdom, ask and it'll be given unto us. So I ask for wisdom as they preside over the matters of the city, as they make decisions, as they make plans, as they do what is necessary to keep this city a great place to live. And so give them wisdom, give them direction.
Yes.
Thank you for these that have come tonight. We ask your blessings upon each individual who's here,
Yes.
and even those that are not. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend McGee. Appreciate you being here as always. Okay, we're ready to introduce our honorary alderman tonight. You see, Miss Caitlin Saltzman is here. We appreciate her being here. She's a senior at Thelma High School. She's very active in school and community events. She's a member of the National Honor Society. She's participated in the Thelma Craft Fair, the freshman initiation, spaghetti dinners, and many, many other things. She's involved also in Health Occupations Students of America, HOSA. She's been very active in that. She's involved in the Mayor's Youth Council. She is a member of Mu Alpha Theta. She's a 4-year varsity volleyball player and a 2-year co-captain. She was helpful with the Dustin Litch concert that was here a couple of months or so ago. She has a 4.0 GPA, very impressive young lady. She's also, I learned, at my request, I understand that she's quite the artist. I just want to share a little bit of her work.
Oh, wow.
Very talented. So I'm going to ask you in just a minute, Ms. Saltzman, why you focus on hands. But here's yeah. Very nice. Very, very talented. Very talented. So, welcome. I'd like to give you the floor now for anything else that you would like to add that you're about yourself that you'd like to share with the group.
I guess a big part of my life that I like to tell people is that I'm part of a military family, and I've traveled all around and lived places, so I know a lot of people, and I've made a lot of friends, so I think this place is by far my favorite, though.
Very nice, thank you. Now, I think you've got someone in the audience that you need to recognize.
My dad. He's my hero.
Yeah, that's very nice. Yeah, very nice. So, Mr. Saltzman, we appreciate you and your service as well to our country. I understand that you've just recently retired. Yeah. So, appreciate your work. So, Kathleen, if you don't mind, stand there at your desk. We have a certificate to present to you recognizing you as the honorary alderman tonight.
Thank you.
Stand up here in front of the flag.
So you'll stand right over here, and we're going to picture one with you afterwards.
I think he wants to go. Okay, good.
Yeah, no.
Oh, yeah, please.
Yep, jump up here.
All right. A lot of times he asks me to take pictures too.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So congratulations. So in just a few minutes, Ms. Saltzman, we'll recognize you for any activities that you would like to report on from your various activities, okay? I'm going to pass that back to her. I don't want to steal anything. I want to... Okay, we're ready for comments from citizens. Anyone in the audience wish to address the board at this time that's not later on the agenda? Seeing none, we will proceed then. We have reports from board member and alderman. Mr. Mathis, we'll start with you, please, sir.
That's good. Well, I can't talk, so I'm hoarse. And so I'm not a horse, but I'm hoarse. Anyway, I'll just have to hold off. Thank you.
Well, you're very modest. I've known that. Mr. Mathis was, in his 1974 baseball team, of which he was the coach, was recognized as the first and only team to be inducted so far into the Tullahoma Sports Hall of Fame, led by Mr. Mathis.
I didn't know I was sitting next to royalty.
Yeah, yeah.
What made it even more that night is there was 22 kids on that team.
Wow.
20 showed up.
Wow.
That was neat.
Yeah, that was good. I know you enjoyed seeing them.
I did.
Yeah, yeah. So we know you appreciate the recognition, and I appreciate the Sports Council putting together just really a great evening, I think.
Great evening.
Yeah, great evening. Yep, yep. So it's a shame that the 1973 baseball team, particularly the manager, was not recognized, but anyway, that's the way it goes.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah, right, okay. Mr. Duncan.
Thank you, Mayor. I did attend the annual chamber banquet at the conference center. Had a TAEDC meeting, and getting ready for a big gospel extravaganza, which will be at the Upriver District Association Tabernacle. It's an annual event that happens. It's a multi-county choir that comes together this time of year just for that. There's like 5 counties, so there's about 45 people maybe in the choir, and it's going to be this will happen on the 24th of the month at the River District Tabernacle in Winchester at 4 p.m. So getting ready for that. It's been a lot of work going on.
Good. That's it. Dr. Blanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since we met last, I've had a policy committee meeting with TUA. We're plus 6 net customers in December of 2018, moving us to 3775 customers, which is great. I also attended the chamber banquet. It was very nice at the Manchester Conference Center. I would like to thank everybody that came out to my dad's visitation or came to the funeral this last Saturday. That meant a lot. And for any cards or whatever plants and stuff that y'all sent, appreciate that. Show us support for my family. Also would like to, as always, admonish or encourage people to shop here locally. That's all I have tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Blanks. Ms. Keene.
Thank you. I too attended the chamber banquet over in Manchester, and it was a really highlight to be able to go Saturday night to the Sports Hall of Fame dinner. I really give kudos to Kurt and to Lyle and his group. They transformed. I mean, we really have to brag on them. They really transformed that place. It was just amazing. The meal, you couldn't have gotten a better meal anywhere else. It was just wonderful. I think everybody there were like 270 something people, I think, that were there. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful evening. Kudos to everyone involved to be able to have something like that and to be able to recognize and to see so many people, that those of us who are from Tullahoma that came back to see all of those people. It was just really, really nice. Just kudos to everybody. So, Kurt, please congratulate and tell everyone thank you. They just did a great job. I had a school board meeting. And then next week we'll be having another tourism meeting, council meeting. So look forward to that.
Good.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Nellis, please, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. I also attended the Chamber Awards banquet on Friday evening. And I regret to say that I was scheduled to attend the Sportsman's Hall of Fame banquet on Saturday night. I forgot. That must have been a wonderful event.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. Ms. Saltzman, anything that you'd like to announce?
I guess being a senior, a teenager, I just wanted to encourage safety, especially with spring break and summer coming up. So.
Very good. Good advice. So I want to remind each of you that on February the 28th, I believe, we're having our What I Like Most about Tullahoma recognition. That'll be at South Jackson Civic Center again. I think all of you have participated before, and I believe you can participate again this year as well. Mr. Glick, how many people was the room set up for? That question was asked of me, and I didn't know.
256.
256. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. As Ms. Keene said, it was really amazing. You need to ask and see some pictures. Yeah, you need to ask to see some pictures. Yeah. Okay, we're ready for the city attorney report. Mr. Worsham, please, sir.
Good evening. Congratulations, Coach Mathis, for a good job well done. We appreciate that. It's good to have people like you in our town. It makes our town special. We're working, Ms. Golden and I, on compiling the list of delinquent property tax for the year 2017, and I'll be filing those cases before the end of February in the Chancery Court in Coffee County and Franklin County. I've talked with the clerk and master. We have a new clerk and master, so the procedure is going to be a little bit different this year than before, but we're learning how she wants to do it, and it will be done. The only other thing that I have tonight is you may have noticed in the Sunday News, Tullahoma News, that the City of Manchester has now received a report back from the Municipal Technical Advisory Service, which is the same as what I advised this board a couple of months ago, and the county, CTAS had advised the county that the City of Manchester cannot appoint members of the Public Building Authority. And at that time, you remember, we had a resolution that we held in abeyance to see what those opinions were going to be. We can ask the county commission to consider establishing a procedure for making sure that at least 2 Tullahoma residents are members of that building authority. That had been the policy in the past, I understand, 2 from Tullahoma, 2 from Manchester, and 1 at large. Sometimes people on the county commission seem to forget that almost all the people that live in Tullahoma are also Coffee Countyans. But if you'd like for me to present a resolution to you at the next meeting along those lines, I'll be happy to do that. Mr. Stan Thiel is a member of that authority now. His term is up and he is eligible for reappointment. I think he's interested in being reappointed. And of course, Mr. Greg Sandlin is our other representative at this time. So unless you object, I'll have a resolution ready at the next board meeting.
Is there any objection to that? Everybody okay? No objection. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ready for the city administrator's report. Ms. Moody, please.
A few items. One, last week I was able to tour the new animal care and control facility. It is coming along very nicely. There's a few punch list items remaining, and then we'll start planning for a spring ribbon cutting and an opportunity for all of you and some of our donors and supporters to come out and see the facility. Also, I will send you, I'll be contacting you about this, but I just want to put it on your agenda now that March 19th will be the next meeting on the North Jackson Streetscape Plan. Right now, our consultants are working on an inventory and analysis, identifying all of the properties along the corridor, and will be ready to sit down for a full day with a list of stakeholders, and of course you'll be included in that. So just reserve some time on March 19th because we will be contacting you for your availability to meet with them. And then, like you, I just want to echo a thank you to Kirk Glick and all of our staff at Parks and Recreation. I think that I've heard just tremendous accolades about how they transformed the gym at D.W. Wilson, and loved seeing all the pictures on Facebook of that event. And then, if you haven't noticed, please go on to the city's website. I want to thank Winston Brooks. He's spent a lot of time helping update the look of that website and making it more user-friendly. But I think you'll like it. It's a freshened look, bigger photos, bigger images of our community. So really thank you for your time on that, Winston. And that is all.
Good. Yes, we'll take advantage of that. Look at the website. So this is a reminder to the men in the audience, in particular Mr. Noah, since you seem to have trouble remembering. Valentine's Day is Thursday.
Thank you.
Do I need to send you a text or anything that morning?
Probably wouldn't hurt.
Okay. If I remember, I'll send you a text. But anyway, so there are 4 assisted living or nursing homes or whatever. Anybody that wants to join me and hand out flowers, I'll save one for you, Mr. Noah, that you can present to Ann if you'd like. And if you'd like to join me in handing out carnations, the ladies at the facilities really seem to appreciate that, and I think the people that do the handing out and visiting with the ladies benefit from it as well, perhaps even more. Okay, we have several items on the consent agenda. 1919 minutes of the January 28, 2019 regular meeting. 1920, approve a license agreement with International Soapbox Derby, Inc. and authorize Tacoma Parks and Recreation to host the 20th annual All-American Soapbox Derby on Saturday, May 4, 2019. That's amazing, 20 years. 1921, approve a performance agreement with Six Flags for a concert to be held as part of the annual Independence Day celebration. 1922, approve Amendment Number 1 to the 2012 Home Grant Agreement with the Tennessee Housing Development Agency, reducing the city's total project budget from $375,000 to $363,226 to match actual project expenses. 1923, approve a request to waive the residential demolition permit and residential stormwater permit fees for Highland Rim Habitat for Humanity. 1924, approve the appointment of Tina Shang to the City of Tellama Art Council for a 3-year term. Approve the appointment of Beverly Lee to the Tellama Area Economic Development Corporation Board, the Tellama Industrial Board, and the Tellama Health, Educational, and Housing Facility Board for 6-year terms. Is there a motion we approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Proper motion by Mr. Noah, seconded by Ms. Keene. All those in favor of the consent agenda as presented, vote green. Opposed, vote red. Motion passes 6-0. Ms. Moody, we have no old business that's arisen. Okay. We've got several items of new business. Item number 1926, consider approval of an agreement with Savalius LLC for owner representative services related to the police headquarters replacement project. Let me get a motion and a second, and for any discussion.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Blank, second by Mr. Duncan. Alderman Duncan. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion as presented, vote green. Opposed, vote red to follow the staff recommendation. Motion passes 6-0. Item number 1927, consider approval of a request to declare an area of 2,500 square feet inside West Monroe Street right-of-way adjacent to 214 West Monroe Street property as surplus real property for sale. Is there a motion to adopt the recommendation in a motion?
Motion to approve this request, but subject to restricting eligible bidders to only the adjacent property owners at public auction pursuant to the court order and reserve easements for ingress and egress, drainage, and utilities.
Well, that's a proper motion. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Noes. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion as presented, vote green. Opposed, vote red. Motion passes 6-0. We're not looking at you. We're looking at the board. Resolution number 1783, consider approval of a resolution to amend the fiscal year 19 budget to add an information technology manager position and related equipment, make mid-year adjustments, and adjust final tax rolls. Is there a motion to approve resolution
Move to
1783?
approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Noes, second by Ms. King. Any discussion? All those in favor of resolution 1783, vote green. Opposed, vote red. Motion passes 6-0. Ordinance number 1516, consider an ordinance to amend the Telluride zoning ordinance to add definition, add as a use, and add development requirements for independent senior living facilities and set a public hearing for February 25th, 2019 for passage on the first of 2 readings.
Motion approved.
Proper motion by Dr. Blank. Second. Seconded by Mr. Duncan, Alderman Duncan. Any discussion? We're simply setting the public hearing and passage. We're combining the two. We're setting the public hearing and passing on first reading. This is an exciting project for Tullahoma. I'm sorry. Has everybody voted? I don't think I did. I vote?
No, you did not, sir. Okay.
Motion passes 6-0. Ordinance number 1517, consider an ordinance to amend the Tullahoma zoning ordinance to exempt off-street parking areas in the Central Business District, C1, from section 501.1.3, part 5 of the zoning ordinance, and set a public hearing for February 25th, 2019 for passage on the first of 2 readings. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 1517?
Motion approved.
Proper motion by Dr. Blank, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Mathis. You read an explanation of that on page 86 of your agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor? Ordinance 1517 on the first of 2 readings, vote green. Opposed, vote red. Motion passes 6-0. Ordinance number 1518, consider an ordinance to rezone 5 parcels from general commercial C2 to medium-density residential R2 to accommodate single-family dwellings and set a public hearing on February 25th, 2019. Passage on the first of 2 readings. Again, we're simply setting the public hearing and passing it on first reading. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 1518?
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Noes.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Mathis. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of ordinance 1518 on first of 2 readings, vote green. Opposed, vote red. Motion passes 6-0. Ms. Moody, any other new business? We will adjourn and go into the beer board portion of the agenda. We have one item on consent, 19 DV03, minutes of the January 28, 2019 beer board meeting.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Blank, seconded by Ms. King. All those in favor of the consent agenda as presented, vote green. Opposed, vote red. Motion passes 6-0. No other business. We are adjourned.